Want to do a quick experiment with the Subaru Forester. If you guys remember, I did lift it this past weekend. So the springs and the spacer lift have been on for about not quite a week, maybe a couple hundred miles. So I want to start putting some weight in the back and just see how it affects the ride height. That was kind of one of the reasons why I ended up replacing the springs, is because I knew I was going to have some weight in the back, and once I started putting stuff on it, didn't want to load it down too much. So anyway, we have the standard King springs and the about 1.75 inch spacers from AGF. So if you haven't seen that video I uploaded the other day, jump on and check that out. It talks all about the lift. So let's get some weight in the back. I got a full-size spare here, which is around 50 pounds. Then I got some weights up here we're gonna throw in the back, and I'll measure it before and after and just kind of see how it does. I wish I had some type of a baseline. I probably should have done this before I put the springs on to see how it compares to stock, but nevertheless, it should be fun. Let's do it. So with nothing in the back, let's just get a quick baseline here. I'm going to measure to this seam in the kind of the panel here and go from there. And we are at 33 and 9/16. So that'll be a good reference point. I will note I do have the Thule carrier on the top here, but it is empty. There's nothing in it, so it doesn't have a whole lot of weight on it at all. It's really pretty heavy. I can easily pick it up and move it myself and install it myself. The rear does have a 1/8 inch higher lift than the front, so that should help us out as far as leveling goes too. But when we're talking, let's throw the spare in, take another measurement, and then just keep adding weight and see how it looks. So I've got the spare tire in the rear. Again, it's about 50 pounds. I'm not expecting much movement at all from this, really. 50 pounds is not a lot, but I've got it as far back as I can. In fact, I can't close the gate back there. And we're at 33, and oh my gosh, like if it moved like a 32nd of an inch. So pretty much nothing. So I got two 35-pound dumbbells over here. Let's throw them in. So with the full-size spare and the 70 pounds of dumbbells, we're sitting at, let me get this back where it was perfectly, 33 and 6/16. So 33 and 6/16 versus 33 and 9/16. So a little bit of a drop now that we've got roughly 120 pounds in the rear. And again, I still cannot close that cargo gate. So let's see what else we can find. So I grabbed one of my snow tires that I'm no longer going to be using, actually, so I'm selling them here locally. These are a 16-inch steel wheel as opposed to the aluminum on the ones I have here. And these are a 225/70/16, I believe. I could look here, obviously, but again, about 50 pounds, probably a little bit more actually. So I bet we're closer to maybe 50, 60. Let's throw this guy in. And last but not least, I think we'll call it good here. I got about 180 pounds, we're gonna call it, in the rear. And we are sitting at, it's lined up here, perfect. About 33, and I like to do 16ths because it's more uniform in my brain. You're at 4/16 there, so you'd be looking at 33 1/4. So looking at what I say, 6/16 last time, so 2/16 lower than what we had before. So not a huge drop. I like it. I'm gonna go write the numbers down real quick, and we'll jump to the bench here and wrap it up, and I'll kind of give you a little bit better idea of why I was doing this to begin with and why it may be important to you. So at the bench here, I wrote these down real quick just to get an idea and show you. I realize these are not the smallest form of these fractions, but for uniformity's sake, and because they're such small drops, I wanted to keep them in 16th inches here. So with zero weight on them at all, nothing at all in the trunk. Again, I do have the Thule on top, but I think it's a pretty uniform spread, and there's no weight in it. We're at 33 and 9/16 there. So adding 50 pounds, which was the full-size spare, basically did nothing. There was pretty much no movement at all. If anything, it was negligible, really. When we got up to the 120-pound mark, we dropped to 33 and 6/16, which is 3/16 of an inch of a drop in comparison to OEM. Not OEM, but without any weight. So I would say that this is important because my rear spacer is plus 1/8 of an inch higher, or 2/16 of an inch higher than my front. So by the time I get around 100, 120 pounds, that 1/8 inch spacer is basically, or the height difference I should say, is kind of negated. We're basically level at that point. Any more weight in the rear is going to be sagging more than the factory front to rear height difference, if that makes any sense at all. So jumping up weight again to 180, we're going to 33 4/16, which is 5/16 less, a little bit over half an inch, or sorry, a little bit under half an inch in comparison to the no weight at all. So why is this important to you, or to me really, and it may or may not be important to you? I mentioned earlier I do have a hitchgate solo on the way, and the hitchgate solo I believe weighs like, I think it's like 50 pounds, and then my spare weighs 50 pounds. That may actually be 60, I can't remember, let's just say 60 for the sake of it. That's 110 pounds right there. So with the hitchgate solo, which is a spare tire carrier, swing up in spare tire carrier, plus my spare tire, we're at 110 pounds. So I would imagine that 110 pounds, we're going to be very similar to this measurement here. And we're going to be pretty level, relatively speaking, with the full-size spare tire in the rear, which I was really hoping. I was hoping that by adding the spare tire carrier and the full-size spare to the rear, I wasn't going to be dropping too low or getting too much sag in the rear. So being that's going to be on there all the time, because I like to have a full-size spare, I think it's kind of a requirement. I'm pretty happy to kind of see this. Again, I wish I had a better baseline and I was able to do this with stock, because I know the stock springs are not nearly as firm as this, and they would definitely be sagging a bit more than what we're seeing here. So anyway, I hope that was helpful. It was kind of informational for me, and I just really wanted to do a little experiment and bring you guys along. So I'm pretty happy with not only the ride, like I mentioned in the previous video, of the King Springs, but I'm happy with how little they're actually sagging when we start getting weight on them. So that may vary once they've had a chance to break in and, you know, get all settled and stuff like that. But I'm pretty happy with it. So I like it. I like the ride, and I like that we're not seeing a bunch of sag. So check back later. We'll have more updates soon. Let me get this stuff unloaded. Check this out. So as I'm wrapping up shooting this video, this is what the UPS man drops off. So ordered up a Curt roof basket. It'll probably go off and on, maybe not be on there permanently, but kind of want a little bit of a flare up top, a way to carry my spare until the hitchgate shows up, because 6 weeks is next week, but I've heard it takes longer, so I might be a couple weeks out, and I like to have a full-size spare, and lots of times I need room in my trunk, so let's tear into this thing here.